These are the top 3 automations I use for my clients and their agencies, and why they work so well, and how to save easily 10 plus hours a week for your team, how to onboard at least twice as many clients, and manage to save a bunch of money for your team. And this will be the best system you will see for specifically ClickUp CRM systems, and especially for beginners. So this is not for advanced ClickUp users. This is not for people who have plenty of automation systems. This is perfect for people who now have started to go into CRM systems, started to use a task manager, and now want to kind of scale up to the next level and don't want to use a Google Sheet anymore. So straight to the point, I will cover some important stuff in today's video, and I will cover exactly what I have done and what kind of automations are important for beginners. In this case, number one thing, this is the most important thing you can do, is find your bottlenecks. You find out your problems, right? Because the most common thing I've seen for users, you find your problems. Most problem I've seen across all of my clients, they automate a bunch of stuff they don't need to automate. Truly, I mean, I've built so many systems that are so unnecessary. I mean, there's so many systems I've built for a bunch of money. They have spent 4 figures on automated systems that I don't even use. So please, like for everything, use and find your most common problems. There's no point of automating anything before you have found out your common problems and the most things you repeat on a daily basis. There's no point automating fancy GPT answers or fancy stuff. Do what is most important and only that. There's nothing else, right? And that is the main goal. So in this case, I'm going to walk you through how to do that and how to kind of find the exact process to use the best automations. I'm going to cover the automations and then cover how to solve them. So step number 1 for you. The first step we have to think about is find out or imagine yourself signing a client, right? Think about this today. You send a proposal and this will be your client, right? This will be your client. Think about every single process you do for the client. You do onboarding. You do maybe proposals, but that's before, of course. Maybe you do social brief, you do audits, you do kickoff calls. Think about every single step you do when you have a client on board. And if it varies, of course it can vary. You won't have the same client for everybody. I understand that there can be a different process for each person, but think about kind of the most common, like you always have a kickoff call probably, like you always have some sort of onboarding call. You always send proposals. Like there are still certain steps that are quite repeated for every single client. So in this case, think about the most common problems. Now, once you found out the problem, let's say you have like kickoff call, but main thing I will focus about is the actual delivery, right? Because most people will do this common thing. So think about the delivery. Think about what you deliver for the client. So let's say maybe SEO audit you do, maybe Meta or ads audit or Google business audit. Like things you do every single time before you actually launch a client. Maybe you do like a welcome email every single time. Maybe you do send like proposals. Like there's always be a certain thing you always do for every single client, besides like the onboarding call, because you can't automate an onboarding call, right? You still have to go on the call physically. So think about what you have to do for the client, and that's the number 1 thing. Because there's no point of me showing a bunch of automations if you don't know even what to automate, right? You have to know the exact process for every single client, and that is super, super important. So in this case, let's jump on ClickUp. If you haven't used ClickUp before, it's a task management platform, task and stream platform. You can customize it however you want, with whatever fields you want, and that's why I love it, because mainly because you can do whatever you want. You don't have to kind of be and use it in a specific way. You can use it however you want, and you can do whatever fields, and also super cost effective. So if you want to sign up, just use the link below, or just search for that ClickUp something. But yeah, it's just use the link below, so I get affiliated of course as well. But yeah, ClickUp, if you use Monday, that's fine. Monday works kind of similar with automation, so I guess that you have advantage, but I will show the exact specific setup in ClickUp. So you go into your CRM system. If you don't have a CRM system, then of course you have to set that up. I have more videos on that in my channel. Let's say you have a clients list. Maybe this one I think I've done exactly. So think about the most common thing you do. Let's say you have, like, there's always an order you do stuff. Let's say I have client in here. I just use a right placeholder. I have written an 8-step sequence I do every single time when having a client. I do send a welcome email, I'll set up a shared folder in Drive, I'll create delivery boards, I invite client to a Slack or email thread, I do add clients to a project tracker, I schedule a kickoff call, I assign delivery owner. Like, this would be the most common things I do. So write your whatever you want, placeholder, or just like something interesting. Write whatever you think, like it still will be replaced, it doesn't really matter. So then you write your subtask, so you press on add a subtask. You press on every single thing that's important. So let's say you do SEO audit, let's say you welcome mail. You get the point, you write all the things that are important to you and write it in a list. So do it like this, send a welcome email, maybe do kickoff call, like, you get the point. You write all the things that are necessary to basically for delivering your client. Hopefully that makes sense. And that is kind of the first step. You identify your stuff. What are you currently always doing in every single process? So think about the exact process and what you're doing for your clients. So in this, as you see, I have welcome email, as I said, and then once you have done and added all the steps you usually do, you assign the person. So you assign, let's say me, or assign my partner Leon, because Leon always sends the welcome email, I'll always do this shared folder or Drive, right? You do due dates. So let's say you have due date of today, because once you, let's say you sign a client, then you have due date. So in my opinion, you should always have a lead list. In the lead list, you always go and set up an automation script. So in this case, to always trigger the first automation I want to talk about is to do something like this. You create a task in your delivery board. If you don't have this, I do have templates below. I do have a 12 sequence training, so just download that if you want a full sequence of trainings on ClickUp. So if I don't have to walk you through everything once again, but yeah, if you want like a short and extremely comprehensive tour on ClickUp, then just download in my newsletter below. But yeah, to the point, I'm going to create a task, create subtask on every single step you do when on your client. Remember this sequence and the order, due dates, and the person going to take care of the task. Quite simple. Now, once that is done, you can see this one. I'm going to assign maybe the rest of the people. I'm just going to show you an example. I don't have to do everything. I'm going to press on the notes. I can also, of course, remove, or no, completely up to you. So you press on the 3 dots, you press on templates, you press on save as a template, you name it. I would probably say something that is like delivery for client, especially for clients maybe doing ads, I'm not so sure, or like delivery for clients who are doing SEO. You get the point. You save template. So the fun thing about this, you can create multiple templates. So in this case, if I go back to my drawing, you can have 1 template, or 2 templates, or 3 templates, maybe 1 for onboarding, or 1 for SEO, maybe 1 for Google Ads, maybe 1 for creating a website. You get the point. I should just use the text in here, it just looks better. Creating a website. So you get the point. You can have multiple of this list. So if you have multiple deliveries, like if you sometimes do SEO, or you have like you're offering multiple services, then I would recommend having multiple tasks. So name it appropriately in the task dependencies. Once that is done, I'm going to go back to the lead board. Let's say you have contacted leads, you have in conversation, proposal sends, waiting reply. This will be your lead list. I'm going to press on automate. On the automation tab, you're going to manage automations and add automations. This will be one of the core automations I think are truly valuable in ClickUp. So in this case, you're going to set a, in this case, it's going to be once state changes to closed, so complete. And let's do it one step further. Let's say we have a drop down. I'm going to say deliverables or delivery. I'm going to say SEO. I'm going to say just SEO. I'm going to say meta ads, just to get the point. Right, and create. And this will be our delivery for the client. So either we do SEO or we do the meta ads. Now this disappeared somewhere, right? Yeah. Did I not say the dropdown? Let's redo it. In this case, the search on dropdown and delivery, SEO, and then I'm too fast sometimes. Meta ads, create duplicate field. I'm going to move this to the start. So for this client called Sophia, I'm going to have meta ads, and this may be SEO. Press on automate, manage automations, add automation, and then you're going to press on status changes to completed. So once a deal has been completed, you have signed the client, and the custom field delivery, I'm not sure what this would be now because I have two of them. Maybe let's just hopefully this is the correct one. If delivery is meta ads, so if it's not SEO, I'm going to create a task called task name in a list of the I think it was clients. I want to select the specific template, so delivery for SEO, use template, status, zero probably, priority, let's say urgent, due date sorted, I'm just going to leave that as a B, but you can of course change that if you want. Name this automation, client closed, meta ads. Hopefully it should work now, because this will be duplicated of course. Create. Now if I move this to complete, hopefully if I'm not duplicating the wrong thing, it should add the client in here called Sophia. I also get notified in the inbox like this, as you can see. This task was assigned to you, and yeah, as you can see, this is the kind of, I do have a bunch of placeholders, but yeah, this will be the task with the task name. I can also duplicate these fields if I want. Now just use this as a template, so maybe we can remove this of course. That was just because I created that as a template. So this would be the task, and one of the most efficient just things to do, because if you're constantly assigning the same people every single day for a task and doing the same onboarding every single time, I mean, you can save so much time for this. Just use fields. Once a deal has been closed, it automatically creates all deliverables, so you don't have to worry about all the things. That's the first automation, and I think kind of following up on this. So, second thing, which I do think is quite important, instead of now doing it like this, we can do one step further. This will be kind of the tie-in and kind of the final big automation for the whole thing, how to actually automate the whole process. So in this case, go back to manage automations, go to add automation. We're going to, when task or subtask is created, or instead we can do something like, it kind of depends. There is a subtask, I think. So task or sort of linked, like there's a bunch of things you can do. In this case, I'm just going to have task and subtask created, or yeah. And then all fields, of course, doesn't really matter. And there's a bunch of tags you can do here. Of course, custom field, tags, status, priorities. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. So if you're having the same single thing every single time, let's say this one, I get notified again. So in this case, I'm going to go one step further. As I said before, we have the manage automations, and we have once a task has been updated or created, we do a to-do list. We can do something even better. Go into automations, go to the old automations, press on the plus. You can, of course, do a bunch of things in here. But I want to call a webhook, or I think it's the legacy one maybe. So in this case, we're going to sign up for an automation platform called make.com. Also have a link in the description if you want to sign up. But yeah, sign up for this. We can do it for free at the moment, because we don't need a paid plan. And we'll show you some really cool stuff you can do. So in this case, yeah, I'm going to log in. So once I'm logged in into make.com, I'm going to press create a new scenario. I'm going to search up webhooks in here and a custom webhook. I'm going to copy this address or create webhook. Just name it ClickUp automation. Copy address to clipboard. I'm going to go back into ClickUp. I'm going to paste this URL and press save. Now, the next step is this. We're going to save. I'm going to test this by pressing on run once. And then we're going to back to the leads boards. I'm going to send another example through, just to show if it triggers. Press on complete. Hopefully this should run in a second. It won't, because I realized I had the wrong status. Interesting to remember. Methods. Now we press on complete. Right, it will trigger the webhook in make.com, hopefully, of course, if it's done correctly. Let's see. If not, then we can do a workaround. There are multiple options to this, of course. Did I do the right thing? Or did I forget to save or something? It should work. Let's see if I can do it once again. Sometimes you do realize you are not the brightest in the world. I have set up this in the wrong thing. This is not the right thing. Remember, going to the back to the, I have to set up in this automation tab. Yeah, in here I do going to press create a webhook. Sometimes you're not as smart as you think, or webhook. Legacy, you copy paste this URL and now it will work. That's just my bad. So I'm going to run this again. I'm going to press on methods and then you press on complete. Now, thankfully it should run, if I'm not wrong, without any problems. Great, it ran. I do have the ID. So just go into here, you search for ClickUp. I get tagged multiple times now from the tasks, which is great. I'm going to, you can see there's a bunch of features in here. You can create a task, get a task. I'm just going to get a task in this case by the ID. So we have this here. I'm going to actually just copy this so I can just play around with the numbers. Hopefully like this. So I can just copy this. And this will of course be the old, but doesn't really matter because we can just do it anyway. So if you want to work, if you want to get the new ID, so if you want to get the new, like this task, then of course we have to do another thing here, but that's a whole different process. I'm just going to show you how it actually works. So once we have the client information, we can do whatever we want. We can first off create a drive or drive. We can go to Drive and create a folder automatically. Of course, I have to reconnect my account, but that's fine. Into my Wedler sign. Hopefully that's correct account. But yeah, automatically connect this, and then you can name it, you can map it, we can choose what location you want, you can choose the name, saying maybe just the client name, username, or email, or whatever you want. As you can, there's a bunch of information here you can use. Notes, company name, I can maybe use company name, and then of course I can go back and I can go this. If you want to make this kind of simpler for you, of course you can just create, instead of having to do everything yourself, I would rather recommend doing it this other way, but I'm just showing multiple examples on how to actually do this. Instead, just go into clients, go into here. I'm just going to remove all of this. This is way of doing automations. Just press on client name. If you don't have a lead list, this is a workaround. Just write client name, and then of course just use this tab. Once, okay, that's the task. So once this is on onboarding, this will trigger automation and create all the subtasks. That's about it. It works the same way, it's just easier to do. And this way, as you can see, it's going to do it like this. We're going to probably have the webhook in here. Yes, that's perfect. So now once we're going to have it like this, we're going to do the same. So we're going to use this. I'm going to actually create a folder by just writing something like anything templates, folder name, using the company name, and then we can just update a task, edit a task, my bad. Hopefully I do have to probably use the custom fields. So search for edit a task with custom fields. Then you choose your workspace. You choose the templates one, I believe it should be right. Folders, CRM. Clients is correct. I do have the task ID. I'm just going to press map. Find the ID down here. Task name, won't move. All I just want to do is, let's say, add it to main contact person. Who cares? It's going to be drive something folder right down the line. So before we do this, let's do a small test. So we're going to press on run. Okay, that's wrong, but yeah, okay, sure, that worked. That's just old data. In this case, I'm going to actually do this properly. I'm going to go back to clients. I'm going to add a field called drive, or should I call it just text? Let's just do text. Google Drive, like this. Now, this will go back to make.com. We go back to here. We're going to add the Google Drive into here. So you see this folder, but let's say just use web view link, press on save. And just like this, let's just run immediately. Just like this. Let's say you get a client on board, you remove the old ones, you don't have to have this. You create a new task saying, let's say my name, I have just onboarded myself. Let's say delivery, this field can be whatever you want, just for your own sake. Press on onboarding, it triggers the make scenario. It triggers the scenario in ClickUp, and just like that, I can refresh this site once. And as we can see, we have a drive in here with my name. Of course, this now created a new task and not subtasks. So if you want to create subtasks, of course, that's another thing. Of course, you can just move this if you want. It works the same way. You can just move it like subtasks. But yeah, we have now a drive folder link, and of course, is accessible. You can do this as you wish. You can change everything. You can send emails. Just use the mail module. send an email, you can write an email to them directly with automations. You can add ChatGPT. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can do here. Of course, I can't walk you through everything, but I can show you what's kind of possible and how much you can actually do with inside of ClickUp. So this is of course only a small fraction of what you can do, but in total you can automatically create, this looks kind of messy, a task list by using the delivery folder or a checklist or whatever you want, and you can automatically create like half of this stuff. You can automate. You can automate the welcome email, the driver file. You can automate Slack threading. I mean, there's a Slack in here, so just search on Slack, and of course you get the users, search for users, list file, super file. You can do everything in here. You can create a channel, choose the account. I won't update the connection, but you get the point. You can do half of the stuff automatically with a press of a button, and then you can add a Slack ID channel into the ClickUp. I mean, I can go on and on days for this. Hopefully you just get the point on how much you can actually do within ClickUp. I'm going to create another video being much more specific on the automation part, because there's so much stuff you can do. I'm going to show in depth how much you can actually do, because I just want to kind of give you ideas on what you can do for a beginner and kind of like small automations that are quite key. I'm going to end up with a note on how to create a extremely useful automation in under like a minute. Press on other add automation. You press on the due date, arrives, you comment the assignee saying get this task today. So now in this case, instead of you having to remind your team every single time a due date comes up, this kind of eliminates everything. So just press on this, my name, due date today. This will run the automation. It will notify immediately. Of course, you can change this like 3 days before or 2 days before. That's just completely up to you. I go into the inbox, I get notified, get this task done today, and I can just press on this. And like that, I get notified about which task with a nice Google Drive in here as well. Quite useful, right? And this will of course be the client name. As you can see, how much stuff you can actually do inside of here, it's crazy. Automate like this, like due dates, checklists, welcome mails, drive folders, Slack invites. Automate the whole process. You don't have to do this all manually by yourself, right? There's no point of doing this manually. Use ClickUp automations. And I will do a longer walkthrough video, but of course this is only a fraction of what you can do in ClickUp, because there's auto assigning, there's auto watch, there's like this is of course the AI fields. But yeah, it's quite cool how much you can do in here. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And thank you for watching another video. In this case, it's quite short. I want to kind of touch and make you inspired and test this out for yourself. Test out some small automations, and of course test out make.com and see how much you can actually do inside of the platform. So thank you for watching, and yeah, let me know if you need any help.